see if move this over. Try and alrighty. So welcome everybody. Uh, Shalom to everybody. May the words of our mouths and the meditation of our hearts be acceptable in Yahweh's sight. He is our strength and our redeemer. And it is in his name, which is his authority, that we pray, praise, proclaim, protect, and protect this message. Amen. Hello to everybody. We are getting ready for our special session. We've been doing these now since the beginning of last year. I think this is, if I remember correctly, this is like either 1 month away or it's this month. I think it's this month. This is actually a year of us doing this. So we're excited and grateful for another opportunity to come to you all again. Mm-hmm. Every fourth Sunday we ask the Honorable Maya to come on with us, and we're excited to be able to do so today. If you would like to follow her on TikTok, YouTube, her website, or Pinterest, you can do so at Bloom and Flourish, not AND, the letter N, Bloom and Flourish. And she's a healer, herbalist, chemist, biologist, and biologist by degree. She is here to lead a discussion tonight. We're going to be looking at how we can address some questions, how we would go about doing so. And I'm following the lead, so I guess this might possibly turn into a Q&A. I'm not sure, but we'll try our best to be able to address everything on all the different platforms. Hello, Dawn. How are you doing? Shalom to everybody who's on. Let's see. Sister Barbara, I believe you were on first. Thanks for being on. Sister Deja. Let's see. Minister Tamara, Sister Beverly, Soul Savior. Thanks. Brother Omar, Morgan. Big Brother Thomas, Anubis, Anthony, and to everybody coming on all the different platforms. If you're watching this live, you're watching this later on, thank you again for being on with us. So thank you again to all of special shout out to Solomon tonight, going through a little bit of tough times tonight. However, probably okay, just resting / playing games and healing. So, but shout out to everybody who's on here. Thank you to the moderators. Thank you to those who are with us regularly. Those who might be your first time, we're thankful and grateful. So we'll go ahead and get things started. I'll leave things in the capable hand of the Honorable Maya. I guess I'll follow her lead and we'll see what happens. Feel free to, if you have questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to put them in the chat, I guess. If there are ones we have to get to extremely right away, you don't want us to forget about them. You know, we're only human, so we got a lot of different platforms we're dealing with simultaneously. So just put it in the Q&A box. If you're on TikTok, we'll try to get back to it ASAP. Other than that, please do your best to, just bear with us. We appreciate you. And thank you very much. And hello to Sister Kenya. I think I saw Brother Morel come on. G-Man 2020, thanks for being part of the community. Live in the Fog. Anthony Ford. Anubis. All right, there we go. I think I said shalom to some of you already. Alrighty, so let's go ahead and get it. What are we talking about tonight?
So this topic was inspired by a recent gathering, and it is what to say when you don't know what to say. There's like many situations where there are difficult or complicated topics or conversations that sometimes need to be had and sometimes maybe don't need to be had. But in the moment, having the right words or having the right actions to show your genuine feelings about it is basically what tonight's topic is about. Mine was motivated by, the topic was motivated by grief, because for me, expressing grief and condolences is really challenging for me. I don't know what to say sometimes when people introduce a topic regarding the death of a loved one, like especially a very tragic one, with very sad, very, very sad circumstances. Just a sudden loss or somebody who died so young and things like that. For me, it's a very tough topic. Sometimes, unfortunately, I've avoided having conversations like that with people, just hoping. I don't know if I'm like hoping it'll go away, or I don't know. if time will, heal it, I don't know but the reason for this conversation tonight is kind of getting a feel for what to say when you don't know what to say. Like there's a lot of situations, like if there's somebody is unfaithful, is cheating on say their spouse, their husband or their wife, and you know about it. What do you say in a situation like that? Do you say anything? If someone is making bad life decisions and they're making bad life decisions, but is it really your place to say something or be overly involved, depending on who it is and how long you've known them? Say someone's getting a tattoo of their love interest name, or they're going to get an abortion and you know about it. It's like, what is your responsibility? What is your obligation, or not obligation to step in? Um, Another tough subject is how to apologize. Like, um, sometimes an apology can be really hard, and you don't know whether or not it's going to be received. And then another thing is knowing when and how to pray. I know for me, sometimes that's challenging, knowing what to say in prayer sometimes. So, those are some of the topics that I kind of wanted to touch on tonight, if possible.
Okay.
Okay. So, starting with grief, like if someone tells you they've lost a loved one, um, and it was sudden and it was tragic, like say a child, loss of a child, or loss of
Mm.
a spouse, and it was unexpected, what would be your reaction? What would you say?
So I'm always going to, those of you who are part of us, part of what we do, like we're basically going to go to a position of culture first, right? Everything's always cultural. The way we deal with stuff, you're going to go to your default, and we haven't really been taught how to deal in grief. We kind of, somebody dies, we usually just go, okay, call the pastor, somebody in, or
Mhm.
call the police, call call the ambulatory services. They deal with it, and then we try to shock absorb. We are in shock, and we try to people try to figure out the best way to absorb shock, or a lot of times people just don't deal with people. They just say, I don't know how to deal with them, or maybe they just need to be left alone. Sometimes people want to rush in, it's like a double dutch thing. Should I, shouldn't I, shouldn't I, shouldn't I? And all the while, the time is turning, getting closer to where it's almost, I won't say too late, but it becomes almost a thing where maybe I should have done this. So I think first things first is always coming from a place of empathy. Like if we go to Job, right? We were talking about this tonight a little bit. Like when Job is somebody who, in one day, really, if you look at it in a matter of minutes, possibly a minute, but in a matter of minutes, Job goes from having all the money, great residence, all this land, all these sheep, all these goats, cattle, etc., 10 beautiful children, to hearing from one person, man, I just came from here, and and your sheep, everything got basically obliterated. And wow, they're finished, and they're saying, I'm the only one that made it. But before they can even say made it, here comes somebody else, and here comes all your ox, and I was just there with them, and all them, and then somebody else is running, and it's just thing after thing after thing. Your house is gone, then somebody else, your children are gone, right? And they don't even get, it happens so fast they don't even get to finish your sentence. And so Job immediately tears out his hair in frustration, gives us the naked, I came into this world naked, I shall leave, obviously still grieving them, gets to a place where then he becomes sick, and gets so sick with boils to the point to where it said he would break pottery and take the pieces of pottery to be able to scrape his skin because it was that bad. And his wife basically not even be able to recognize her own husband. Literally is telling her curse Elohim and just get it over with. And he ends up in this position where he's kind of by himself, and his friends show up later on. And we always get on his friends because of all the stuff that they, all the wrong things that they said, but we forget that they were very empathetic in the beginning. That's culturally what you're supposed to do. As far as the kingdom's concerned, how you doing, TJ? I see you on there. Culturally, that's what we should be doing. So Joe basically was quiet when they showed up in grief. And so guess what his friends did? They were empathetic. And not only were they empathetic, they were only almost like a mirror. Like a lot of motivational speakers. I think the first person I heard way long time ago talking about this was Tony Robbins, but many people talking about this where if you're speaking to somebody, one of the best things you can do is mirror them, right?
Mm.
So if somebody's going like this with their hands a lot, I can actually make them feel comfortable because I'll just start doing that with my hands. And before you know it, like in their mind, subconsciously, we use that term subconsciously, something happens that says, oh, okay, like you're with me. Maybe they cross their leg, and even though I don't really cross my leg that much anymore, like maybe I cross my leg too, right? Maybe I even cross, if they cross the left one and we're sitting across from each other, I might cross the right one. So that it looks like we're doing the same exact thing. Um, if they blink their eyes, maybe you blink your eyes. If you're somebody who has somebody who likes to look into your eyes, you look into each other's eyes. Just doing simple things like that. If somebody reaches out for your hand, you reach back to their hand, and it's a way of saying like I'm with you. Even scientists have actually been able to figure out that the reason why people yawn and it's so contagious is because it's actually something that you're doing to tell the other person it's okay to be
Mm.
tired. So like the reason why you yawn when somebody else's yawn is not just because you're both tired or something in your brain says this person's yawning and I'm trying to empathize. I'm trying to say we're doing the same thing. So a lot of stuff is always going to start from the first place. That place culturally is of trying to make the person feel all right, trying to make the person feel like they're, in the community, so to speak. You know, you said sometimes there are words, but just being there in the moment. Yeah. So, and you said what the first one was dealing with, or death, right? The death of a
Yes.
loved one. So it depends on the person, obviously, because everybody has a different personality. So it depends on the person. I would say, like, first things first is, I would, and hopefully, especially if you have a relationship with the person, you probably know what that person wants,
Mm.
like, or how that person speaks, what is their love language. And so, like if that person is somebody who likes gifts or something, maybe a card is acceptable or something. If that person is somebody who likes to likes words of affirmation, maybe you don't know the words, but now your words of just saying hello, I came to check on you, to
Yeah.
affirm you.
I know how you say sometimes people act differently in times of stress, extreme stress or grief, and they may act out of character, or even lash out at you,
Hmm.
in that situation. Do you think in that situation still the same rules apply about love language and things like that?
I believe so because the person will act differently. But like I said, I think this. So like the gift, obviously, like a gift of a card is still something that's nice, but now it's a sympathy card.
Hmm.
Before it might have been, you know, I'm trying to get outside of these holy days we don't celebrate. It might have been, just a thank you card or miss you card, or you might have written something out. Maybe you write. Maybe this is when you write out. Um, something like even in the card to just say I don't know what words I could use, I just wanted to say I love you. It changes the gift. Quality time is something that where quality time might have been hugging or kissing or doing certain things. Now quality time is just I'm here and
Hmm.
I'm sitting here, and I'm not going anywhere. And even if you don't know it, and even if you yell at me because you're upset or something, I'm not going to say anything, you know, I'm just gonna, I'm still gonna be like, okay, this would be a typical time where you would yell or whatever, and the apology can come later. But I'm not here for that. I'm here for you, quality time, that confidant type behavior. It could be like, it's just empathy, and a lot of times, once again, just coming in and seeing where somebody's at and listening to them, they'll tell you where the conversation is going to flow.
Hmm.
In all of these, you're probably going to hear me talk about something very similar as far as that, as far as psychology is concerned. It's always going to be something along those lines. So, you know, um, you do a hospital visit, for example. I haven't been doing much since COVID, but you do a hospital visit, and a lot of times you walk in there, and the first thing people do is they come in there and they bring their Bible out and they hold it and they
Hmm.
proclaim that Jesus is here and healing has come, and let's sing these songs, let's sing a hymn, and they start talking about singing this is the day that the Lord has made, and the person might just be happy that you showed up.
So they're not filling the room. They're not
Yeah,
seeing, how the people are filling the room. They just come in
right.
and impose their beliefs or feelings on them.
Yeah, because oftentimes I show up in the room and the person ends up being a blessing to me more than I so to them because I just let them talk and then they kind of talk themselves into a place to where they realize, oh yeah, like this is fine and I'm all right and the doctors are saying one thing, but I know what's going to happen and I don't have to speak a word except just be there. And they think that you spoke them into something and you get credited for it, but you don't take credit or give away credit. You're just
Yeah.
there to. Now sometimes they might ask you a question. Well, why me and this and that or whatever, and then you can have a response. Well, I don't know. you know I do know that all things do happen for a reason, but that's a cliche. I know this much though, no
Mm,
matter why I'm here.
mm,
Like
mm,
you start to govern the situation, but you allow them to lead. It's like a dance.
mm,
If you're dancing with somebody, somebody's got to have the lead, and if two people are trying to have the lead, somebody's going to step on the other person's foot. If two people are trying to be led, nobody's going to move.
yeah.
At some point, somebody has to take the lead, and if you got to think about who you came there for.
Yeah, that's very wise. Also, because most people don't want to hear anybody else. They want to hear it themselves. They want to take the lead, and they want to feel like it's their decision. A lot of people don't like to listen.
Hmm.
That's been my experience, myself included, being very I don't want to say stubborn, maybe strong-willed. Uh,
You're forward. You
don't
you have a certain you have a certain way that you want to see certain things done. That's not necessarily a wrong thing because it's gotten you to who you are and the person that you become.
Yeah.
I'm
So
glad that you are because there's times I'm not forward. I'm not forward enough sometimes, and so you'll step in and be like, no, like this is, and you'll speak up for us. You might, you complete me in that
oh,
area.
well, I feel like
Just to let you see, she put that there.
oh, treats by
Deja.
Deja. Okay, I appreciated women's discussion and was comforted by just knowing people were genuinely just there. Well, I appreciate you saying that because I feel like I just did not know what to say, and I feel completely awkward when I'm talking. Like I'm usually pretty forward and pretty opinionated, but sometimes when I just don't know how someone feels because I just can't really relate in a way that I would want to be relate, and I don't want to say something too I don't shallow in such a serious situation. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
so I feel like usually avoid those types of conversations, but I do want to learn how to handle them better.
Mm-hmm.
So I
Yeah.
appreciate what you said about just being present, um, listening, because I think it applies to all of the. Thank you, always blast, and thank you, Rayvon, for the compliments. Um, I appreciate your wisdom in terms of reading the room, reading the person, knowing what you came there for. In terms of you're not there to show how smart you are, how great you
Right.
are. You're there to make that person feel comfortable. So observing first,
Mm-hmm.
and then acting based on what you think they need.
And
So I appreciate that.
that's important too because a lot of people are there to show how smart you are, and it's like, look,
Mm.
you smart. We get it. That's not what we. Matter of fact, you wouldn't be here if we didn't feel it. Matter of fact, your intelligence level, your being smart, your wisdom, even, and your knowledge is not even something that gets you in the room. It's relationship. Like you wouldn't be there if it wasn't for relationship. Come outside of relation. Come work within relationship at all times. And I think that's like somebody will do some harm to us, whether we feel it's a lie or we just feel it's a miscommunication or we feel like somebody didn't do what we wanted them to do. And it's like before you come to the person, think about inside the relationship. In this relationship I have with this person, is that even their MO?
Mm.
And start thinking the same thing. When you're dealing with somebody, if it's a deathbed situation, if it's the child has died, if it's you get a call and so that has passed or whatever.
Mm.
I'm trying to be very particular in my language. I don't want to speak things over people,
Right.
but whatever the situation is, you get to a position where you say, okay, this is the situation now. What is their MO? What is their modus operandi? How do they move? How do they live normally?
Mm.
And knowing them, what's going to you can start already formulating what their stresses are going to be.
Mm.
You have a relationship with them. They I don't like we talk to so many people worldwide, and even though we don't haven't met a lot of them, right? um Even though we haven't met a lot of them in person, even, we've had enough conversation with people and even have people that check on them for us enough
Mm-hmm.
to where it's like, okay, we know, like this is probably what they'll do in
Mm-hmm.
this situation. Sometimes if you've listened to the conversation, they've already told you, like,
Mm-hmm.
man, if such and such happened, I don't know, I just died, right? They, or, they're not saying they would die, but they're saying that's their way of saying I'd fall apart. I don't know what to do. If somebody says, man, if this happened, I don't know what would happen. I need somebody to hold me, somebody to talk to me. During this holiday season, I really don't get calls during the holiday season, and even though it's not our holy days, I like it. It's something like people will tell you, and like Maya Angelou taught us, that great elder, that great ancestor.
Mm-hmm.
Now she taught us, that if somebody tells you who they are, believe them the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And I would add, in this situation, believe them before you show up.
Mm.
So believe them they told you the first time, and then when you show up, still believe what they told you the first time.
Another wise thing that Maya Angelou, the beloved ancestor, said was people don't typically remember what you said; they remember how you made them feel.
Right.
So,
Mm-hmm. And
very
so
wise
and,
words.
and so your culture is going to inform your beliefs affords your emotions. Your emotions will be under control. Therefore, if you have the proper belief, even in the person, and also sometimes I think the thing that we go into is we come outside the culture too, because it's like,
Mm-hmm.
beloved, David, beloved, let not your heart, your passion be troubled. If you believe in Abba, the source, the Father, then also believe in me. In my house, there are many mansions. So if we're confident that this person can go on to something that's greater than what they're going into, we should also have a confidence about how we deal with the person. A lot of times we might have the competence. We're talking about the competent side right now, but
Mm-hmm.
the confident part might be leaking. We talk about on here confidence meaning competence, and so a lot of people are confident in something but aren't competent. They don't know how to do it, and it's a lot of people are annoying because they're competent. Well, I'm sorry, a lot of people are annoying because they got this super confidence but can't actually do what they think they're confident in doing. But then a
Right.
lot of people are competent in something but lack confidence. They
Yeah.
they know how to do it, but they will never show anybody. And
I,
it's like you have to marry
I
both in this
saw this
situation.
article about that where people who usually are incompetent, like who we might consider dumb or stupid, are usually the ones who present themselves as the one to do the job. The people who know the least most of the time are the ones who are, the loudest in the room, and they're the ones saying, I know how to do this and I know how to do that. Whereas the people who actually do know how to do it just don't feel like they know enough. They have like imposter syndrome, so they would never speak up and say, I can do this. A couple of people come to mind, and I don't want to like be insulting, but there's a lot of capable people in our community who have gifts but are afraid to show them because they feel like, well, why me? Even though it is them, they have it in them. Mr. Sonia, like they have the gift in them to heal and to do different things, but it's like sometimes you have like the imposter syndrome, myself included. Like you feel like, why me? Why are people coming to me? No, not me. There's somebody else that you can go to, but they come to you. Um, but just because you don't feel competent, uh, you don't have confidence, even though you might be competent, even though you might forget more knowledge than someone may ever know. You feel like you're just not good enough for whatever reason, um, at the thing, and I feel that imposter syndrome frequently. But I hear that there's been a study that people who are usually intelligent feel like they're an imposter, whereas people who aren't as intelligent feel like they are the expert.
Hmm. Yeah, and when you marry the two together, you become something special.
Chloe
Uh,
said, I see that all the time while working.
Kendra said, for me, it was just knowing my sister needed care that she wouldn't ask for, so I just provided without her asking. Yeah,
Mm,
and once again, it's even love language, or even just being in, like some people, like you said, like some people don't know how to ask. Like some people have always gone through. I can speak for my father. I don't know a time, even with my father passing kidney stones and stuff like that. I cannot think of a time my father has ever admitted, like, you've been with me through my father. We don't know if it was a stroke or whatever, but 3 years, 4 years ago, 2 years, 3 years, something like that ago, 4 years, we had to go to the hospital, whatever, and he was dealing with this stuff, and he still basically like tried to go to work like the next couple of days, like he doesn't know. So I know, like, if there gets to be a spot where he needs help, that you just gonna have to give him help. and speak his language, and not and try your best to come off as somebody who's not trying to say like, oh, and I'm probably like that too, in a sense. I don't know where. I mean, well, I'm getting better at asking for help, but these are just things like, that you have to, you have to be aware of, you have to think about, you have to look at, and think about. So, it's about that confidence and competence. And you said something, and it's really powerful, like they came to you. And so if they came to you, they came to you for a reason.
Mm.
And if they came to you for a reason, it's because they already have confidence in you, even if you don't have it in yourself. So now use your competence. The confidence and competence is still married. Maybe you don't have the confidence in yourself, but they came to you for a reason, or
Mm.
they invited you for a reason because they're confident that you needed to be there, and they must see something. Even if you feel like you're incompetent, they must see something in you.
As a segue to the them coming to you, when people come to you for advice, like I hate that. Because I don't like taking responsibility for other people's situations. So I hate giving advice. Like um, only in like extreme situations, especially if I really care about the person, will I take that stance and die on that hill. Like because whatever you tell them, it may or may not work out the way they wanted it to.
Hmm.
And you're going to be the one to blame. Like, what do you say in that type of circumstance?
I used to not like it, and then I took too much. I won't even say too much of a liking to it, but I got to a place to where I felt like their struggle literally was my struggle, which is great, but not so great when you start thinking that if they fail, it's your failure.
Mm,
What I've learned over, wow, I guess it's been a long time, I guess decades, I could say now. What I've learned is that it's not your fault when somebody else doesn't do well, as long as, right. And also, you said they know and see the wisdom in you to give you the proper guidance and help. I'm not right.
mhm,
What I've learned is that it's not my fault if you don't make it right.
mhm,
All I can do is give you, like we say on here, same thing. I live by this all the time, so I'm going to repeat myself like I always do, but contextual facts.
mhm,
I'm going to give you the culture. I'm going to listen to your situation. We're going to find, as far as law, whether we're talking about natural law, kingdom law, universal law of attraction, law of first mention, all these things. We're going to look at what protects your unalienable rights for healing, for love, for relationship,
mhm.
for life coaching, for marital coaching. By the way, we're not giving out any financial advice on here today, nor are we giving out
Legal.
any legal advice. Right? We're just giving contextual facts. We have to always make that clear.
I love that about you, the fact that you can separate your opinion, your emotion about the situation, and just present the facts. Like for me, I get very opinionated, but I appreciate that about you, the where you basically just present the facts. Like you can't take yourself out of the situation and take even like your feelings about it out of the situation and just present the facts based on experiences and your contextual Bible knowledge. You'll
Mhm.
say based on the law, this, and this, and based on my experience, like say when I was grieving a friend and had some, there was a whole lot of drama around the funeral, and you were like, based on this fact and this fact and this fact,
Oh yeah.
you can make your decision, but you didn't insert yourself in the decision. You just presented the facts and based on your knowledge of me, how you think I might feel if I take this route or if I take this route.
Right. But it's once again, it's out of relationship. So like, I'm gonna be thinking about a relationship, with us. I know you and you know me, we know each other better than we know anybody else. So it's like I should even be able to think, even though I'm not you per se, but we're becoming one always. So like I should be able to think like my wife in that situation. So I didn't think when you were like, well, what would you do? Or when you even I think you were more so asking, what should I do?
Mhm,
I started thinking like, okay, well, how does Maya think?
mhm,
Well, this is Maya's relationship with so and so, and even though so and her might not be might be at odds right now, like so and so probably would, long time would like for you to do so and so according to this situation, this and that, or whatever. And it's coming out of relationship as much as possible. And then after that, so like I'm gonna go relationship first because the relationship is biblical, but a lot of people go straight to like, but it's like when we speak in the early rising, or well, not early rising, in the live sessions in the rising. And a lot of people come on or come in and they're waiting for, all these different things or whatever. And they're waiting like, okay, he's going to go for this verse and this verse and this verse and this verse. And sometimes that's what we do. We're very hermeneutical in structure, but a lot of times I'm going to come on and we're just going to start talking, see where we're led. And even though I know this is what we're doing, I've studied, I've approached it, we might get something that takes us somewhere different. And it's like, so out of, let me, even that's biblical to flow. But it's like we keep looking for, but it's like, can you flow in this? It's not just a written in the book only lawful thing, but like, can you apply it? Like we have the interpretation, but can you apply it? So how do you apply it? So, once again, like that's to me, that's love language. To me, that's caring. To me, that's, us having a structure in our marriage that's solid to where, I know like there's times to where you might come home with something and you go out shopping somewhere and you come home with some things or whatever for me. Right. And like, those are the things that like, oh, okay. Like, that's a snack I would have liked. That's a juice that I would have liked. That's a, that's something that I was like, you might hand me something like, I don't even know why she got that. But then like 2 weeks later, it's like, oh, okay, I'm glad she got this thing. Let me open it up, even though I didn't think I would need it. But it's because like, this is what you're operating in. I'm just saying like we complete each other and things like that. So
I'm just smiling because I know how you feel about my shopping habits.
Yeah, well, like I mean, to each their own. I mean, that's a thing because you like gifts. That's a way of dealing in gifts. So it's not always, and it's not necessarily even, like you're not, breaking the bank for lack of a better term or anything. You just,
I shop at Dollar Tree a lot.
Well, that's
my confession.
That's the one she's confessing to. There's other places too. No, but I mean, it's like you don't worry about. I think like it's just about making sure that the person's all right. Like that's the main thing, and all the stuff going on. I think the first things first is the person. So, but if somebody asks me for help, once again, I've gotten used to, okay, if somebody says I need you to help, first of all, I might not have the answer is okay too. Like, so don't beat yourself up. Like somebody might be called, man, my life is on the line. If I don't pay this bill, my family's about to get taken out. All these different things, right? I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what's going to blah, blah. Well, like, it's okay. Like if this person comes, I'm going to give you the best I have, but I might not have the answer. And the answer might be, I need to pray about it. The answer might be, hey, there's somebody else within our group that probably might be better to go to. The answer might be, you know what, I'm just not the guy for you. Like, for example, I've had, we've talked about this before on the lives. I won't mention names, but, that's back from Kofi_42. I haven't really heard from him since. But there was a couple and they were a lesbian couple. They had, but the person who called me was not the mother of the daughter in trouble, but she was calling on behalf of her. She was actually listening into our stuff. And so even though she knew where I stood, and she knew what our beliefs were, she had an issue with the girl whose father, so I guess she had married or whatever they call it, but she had been in a relationship with the mother's, the mother of the child's, or the mother of the child, and the child was living with the father. And so she was calling me to be like, hey, we're trying to do this, but the child is going through blah, blah, whatever. And so she was like, I don't know if you're going to do this. I don't know if you're going to help. And I was just honest, like, look, okay, I comprehend why you're coming to me. We got a child to deal with. I'm not concerned about the lesbian thing right now. The child is most important right now. So we're going to deal with the child. But yes, do comprehend that I'm going to come from this particular place.
Right.
Like, take it or leave it. And it goes back to scripture, like it goes back to scripture like, blessed are they when they revile you and curse you, say all manner of evil against you for Yahshua's name's sake, for they did the same thing to the prophets that came before us. So if I'm going to do something and somebody gets mad at me about something I give them or whatever, but I did everything according to it, then that's fine. I'm just doing what I'm supposed to. And here's another thing I think that helps out with that, and then I think I'm done with that. We can kind of catch up with these comments real quick. If I tell somebody something, I'm very micro, so I think this works sometimes it's to my detriment, but it works to our benefit in this situation, because I'm going to tell you exactly what the steps are. Like if I give you exact steps, see, this is when it comes to obedience is better than sacrifice. Somebody will sacrifice one time, listen to you or something, or they'll listen to the thing, but then you start saying, okay, well, if you want to get out of this, this is what's going to cost you, not just financially. I'm talking about this is how many hours a day you're going to have to put in. This is how many times you're going to have to eat healthy and eat this particular diet. This is how many times you need to get out in the sun. This is how many hours you need to exercise, whatever. This is how much you're going to have to study. This is what you're going to have to do for your child, whatever it is. And a lot of people don't want to execute what they're given. They just go, okay, I like step 2, but I gave you 17 steps. Yeah. Well, I like step 2, I like step 5, I like step 10, I like step 17. What's the problem? And then they come to you, well, it didn't work. Well, yeah, it didn't work because I gave you 17 steps and you only executed 5 out of the 17. Yeah. Well, at that point, I can't blame self. And I can't say that I gave you something bad if we legit went through 17-step process. And here's the part that now I realize more than anything else too, because I'm not trying to drum up anything financial. I'm just being honest. And I know that I went above and beyond even with people you would have paid maybe $1,000, $2,000, $5,000 for the same service. Your insurance would have went to that same service or whatever. And I'll spend the same amount of hours and stuff. And I give you better than what they would give you. And then I even kick it to, and if you want, if you give a $90 donation, we'll give you an 8-week course on it, on top of it. And you still aren't going to follow it at that point, then I actually have done everything in my power. And then I can go to sleep at night and not have too much,
you definitely, too much rest, you know? Pastor Kofi definitely invests in people. Sometimes I don't even understand it, but it's true. And he will check up on people because he genuinely just cares about people. Like if they come to him and, solicit his help, he's gonna like throw himself all in. And like you said, sometimes people aren't going to do it, but they kind of make this agreement that, hey, I'm coming to you because I want you to tell me what to do. I'm going to do it. And it's like a contract that they're making. But then when they break the contract, I guess that's when you're, if they follow through with it, great.
Yeah. And it used to be I would tear myself up. And this, like it used to be terrible. Like I don't want to name names well,
yeah, I know who
different people in general, where it's been like over years. It's been like, hey, I've, one person, I don't know, she's thinking about the same person, thinking about one person for like 10 years.
Yeah, this guy that he tried to mentor for years and years and years, and he crossed the line in terms of boundaries a lot, and you kept giving him chances, and you have several people like that.
And that was a time when I should not have been giving them chances, but that was me. That was a place to where if you're not careful, if you don't have boundaries, you allow people to step over your heart, right? So we shouldn't be doormats, right? So I was actually wrong in giving some of those chances I gave. I'm not saying we shouldn't give anybody chances, but the amount, if I won't go into it, but the amount of stuff it messed with as far as our marriage is concerned, time that was pretty much wasted on him when I probably could have been given to somebody else or whatever. It was a lot, right? So, but I used to beat myself up when somebody else didn't do well. So for me, I was going to let it last 10 years, a decade, because I was like, and finally, when I stopped talking to this person, I told him the last conversation we had, I was like, look, for a decade, I've given you what people have begged and pleaded for me to write in books, to invest in me, to do life coaching, to do this and that or whatever. I've given you stuff that if you were just listening to it, like you would be ahead of thousands of people. Like you were going to be like, this person was going to be like an armor bearer type situation for me. Like I was trying to groom you because I saw that you could serve very well, but you never took certain steps to change. So it got to a place where it was like, I'm serving somebody who I'm thinking is going to be, well, once again, I've tried to make somebody, I never gave him confidant status, but I tried to make him like eventually turn into a confidant. As we talked about, there's confidants, constituents, comrades, and they weren't even any of the three, turns out. Like they weren't real, maybe, actually they weren't even against, like they were basically like a straight enemy, but I was trying to make an enemy my friend and say, well, sometimes the enemy is the enemy of my enemy. So maybe there's some way, and so sometimes we get locked in.
That person I'm thinking about just didn't respect their life. Maybe it was because they had a lot of trauma, and of course you felt sorry for them. But at a certain point, you have to, hold them or fold them. Like basically, like give, is it gonna go somewhere? Like, are your bets like being made on something that's like not worthwhile? if that person has showed clearly that over several attempts, several years, that they just won't or can't do it, then it's like, where do you, cut your losses at that point?
Yeah, very true. All right, I'm sorry to say. Don said, "I don't feel confident in my abilities always, but people come to me for guidance a lot. Starting to think of myself as the apple tree. They're coming for a reason. Exactly. I'm on right." Kendra said, "It's awesome seeing such a healthy exchange for a couple respectful of each other's individuality." Thank you very much. Don said, "Got that from you, Pastor." Yeah, I know that's well. I got that from. I think I got that from Miles Monroe. But
Mhm.
yeah, I was gonna take credit for that, but I can't take credit for that. That's not mine. That's from the great Miles Monroe himself. Amen. Let's see. Alrighty. So yeah, what's the next one you got for us? I'm sorry,
So,
Minister Nine said I got the revelation that everyone doesn't deserve to be in my presence. I know
mm,
my worth. Yeah, I'm
mm,
not. Yeah,
yeah,
not everybody
yeah.
deserves. And you gotta feel like that about yourself sometimes. Like your presence, if you're a king or queen, your presence runs nations. You know what I'm saying? Like if somebody calls you up, like my presence, my time is valuable, it
Mm-hmm.
runs nations. Some people call you up and they're just like, hey, just shooting the breeze. And look, there's times for that, I guess, but it's like my presence, my time runs nations,
Well, your time is
you
your
know,
life.
and it's your life, and so if somebody's not thinking about your time, they're not thinking about your life.
Exactly. Um, Not knowing what to say in like a confrontational situation. Either you're the guilty, well, not you, but either
That's fine. I get
someone's a guilty party
you. I've been
in
the guilty
terms of
party before.
like lying or cheating or deceit.
100%.
Um, how to either come forward with that or how to confront somebody about that. Because all of those are difficult situations to me.
Right. Well, this is interesting because it goes with what we were talking about. For those who were part of our Shabbat Shalom podcast or service this week, at 10, we do them every Shabbat or every Saturday at 10 a.m. Eastern New York time. We talked about confession deeper, and we've been talking about confession somewhat as a constant motif that's been popping its head up. And confession, it literally means confession literally means to have the same logic.
Hmm.
So it's going to be difficult a lot of times because, well, let's say you're the offended party. Well, let's say either or. You're the offended party. You um, are. Let's say you're on the offensive because you've been offended, or you're on the defensive because you are the offender. Whatever it is, right? We have to first see. Confession is saying that we have to agree in the same logic, and that's why confession is really crucial, because can I admit to you
Mm,
that I'm in the same place you are logically, which is I did wrong.
mm,
And if I admit to you, whatever it is, it could be
mm.
I took the last candy bar. I don't know. Like, there's been times where I've messed around and taken something that I didn't know was yours to eat or drink or whatever.
Mhm.
And been times when you knew something was mine to eat or drink and just snatched it out of my hand, because that's what wives do, right? That's
Yeah,
what wives
you
do.
knew, like we see,
That
there's
yeah.
no confession there because
No, it's
I
not.
just
I
did
mean,
it.
no, I'm saying there's confession. No, I'm saying there's confession. I had to be under the same logic, which is if I ask you if you want something from the store,
He doesn't like to share.
well, look, brothers know what I'm talking about. Sisters, y'all want to act like this doesn't happen, it's fine. But brothers know what I'm talking about, where you already know if I ask you 17 times, do you want something from the store? And you say no, I'm like, are you sure? Right? I might even out of nowhere break out some French that I can't even speak and make it very clear, right? And then we speak about it again. It's like, okay, are you sure? And so, but see, and it's like, all right, do you even want, like, this is your favorite snack? This is your favorite this or that? Do you want that?
Sometimes I'm not
No.
hungry at that
And
moment.
then all of a sudden, when they see it on your plate, then all of a sudden it's something that it's like, oh, let me reach over and, leave you a couple grains of rice.
Yeah,
And that's, now she doesn't do that anymore. She used to do
anymore.
that.
I
She
never
used to
did
do that.
that.
She used to do that where she eat
Yeah.
75% of the meal, and you'd be like, I could have just got you a meal, but it's okay though.
Let's talk about something serious.
No, I mean,
Like the
see,
like the sussy situation that we saw on YouTube today.
now we watched a lot of
Okay, so the sus situation that we watched on YouTube was this dude was caught out there. He went to Miami without his wife.
Oh.
And he was at the beach, and apparently
Yeah.
he approached this
Y'all
woman,
probably have heard about this. This is the first day that I had heard about it. But
and she put him out on TikTok saying, "Help me find this guy. I hope he's not married."
and then turned
So
out he was married.
I'm pretty sure she knew he was married. And I don't think that it was just them holding hands on the beach. I think there might have been more. And she was trying to put him on Front Street, but that's beside the point. The point is that he was unfaithful in his yeah. Well, it's like she's not in their relationship. He's in their relationship. He knows.
Well,
for
the
sure.
second, well, see, once again, it's the same logic, right? So the guy's whole thing is, as long as I don't get caught, or as long as I can make my wife think what's going on, he's not going to confess. So long story short, the guy, everybody pretty much knows the guy was cheating. His wife felt like he was cheating, but then went into this whole thing. Well, you know, my relationship with God, and I prayed about it with my family in the past, and blah blah. And it's like nobody's going to be honest. Like we're missing the boat. That there has to be confession. Right.
Mhm.
So confession is the same logic. Like if we don't confess, that's the key. And I'm telling you, you know, you might as well confess now, because what's done in the darkness comes in the light anyways, whether it's going to be the light in front of the throne of the Most High, or the light that's going to come around when she's going to check your records and this and that or something, and she's just going through her normal routine, and wait a minute, what is this folder, right? What is this envelope? So whatever it is, it's going to come out, or vice versa, ladies, because ladies, sometimes we do, but we're going to focus on the example we were given, right? But I just want to make sure, because fellas are out there, I can hear them in my head. Make sure that the women understand, because we, for whatever reason, we always have to blame each other. But, you know, but it's like, but in that situation, the confession would have done everything, because the wife deep down inside knows that he cheated.
He never confessed.
No,
he never
right,
confessed.
but he never confessed. So there's the deal, is that now they're going to be going through counseling and doing all this stuff, and they're going to beat around the bush the entire time. I already know, as somebody who does life coaching and marital coaching, they're going to beat around the bush the entire time, because there's no same logic. If the logic is not, I cheated, or even if, I know you don't believe this, and I don't know if I necessarily believe it either. I don't really know, but I'm just saying, let's just for the sake of argument say that the logic is that you were trying to cheat bare minimum. So let's just say you were trying to cheat, you couldn't cheat, you got caught on TikTok because this woman was looking for you, because she couldn't be successful with you either. And then all of a sudden, next thing you know, all this stuff comes out of it. The logic has to become that, hey, you know what, like, I was in a position of doing wrong, I was weak-minded, and now we can start doing things like asking for forgiveness. Your wife can therefore make an informed decision, because now they're going to beat around the bush, and it's going to be an ill-formed and non-informed decision, because there's no confession. There's no, this is the logic we're under. That's what confession is we have decided to be under the same logic. It also translates to say what has been said, or to say what has been done. You haven't had that moment where we are under the same
logic. To give them context, this dude sat up there, was confronted by a video that was seen by millions of people, and when his wife confronted him about it, he basically said, I didn't do anything, and it was like making faces while she was even talking about it on this little interview. And the faces were like, well, why are you making such, like, the faces he was making was like, why are you making such a big deal about it?
No,
I didn't do anything.
I took the faces as a man, I took the faces as, oh, I hope she doesn't like say that she thinks I'm still cheating. And then she said, well, I don't believe he's a cheater. And before
that,
okay.
Whenever the interviewer asked the wife how she felt about it, and she was it basically looked very
I didn't
suspicious.
See that.
It seemed like he was cheating.
I was behind the wheel of the
and
vehicle,
he was
so
like, I didn't do anything. I was just holding her hand in the water and hugging her in the water with her butt out. You know, it was innocent. I mean, that was what I got from it. It's like, why are you making such a big deal about this? Because I didn't sleep with her. And it's like, okay, circumstantial evidence. Right. Like, if you didn't sleep with her, you were trying to. But I'm pretty sure that stuff happened. And if it wasn't with her, it was with somebody else.
So, but once again, that's confession. You have to have a mind of confession. Even like a mind of confession is a mind of repentance. Like, you have to be willing to say, I did wrong first, and then I'm going to turn away from what I did. And even if that means that in my repentance, you still leave. Like, that's the thing, is like, he's trying to he's trying to do a turnaround without confessing and making the point of this is where I need to turn from, which means that you just turning and turning and turning, once again, pointless exercise. And then on top of that, you don't want to give her what she deserves, which is because you're afraid, you know, you mess up and you know you're going to lose the best thing that's ever happened to you. So now you're in a position where it's like, am I courageous enough to confess and say, you know what, I was weak minded then and I was a coward and I made a coward's move. I got caught up. You know, he wasn't expecting to be on TikTok all over the place. He was thinking he was going to be like a lot of these dudes out here, do something. Nobody knows what you're doing. He's probably in Miami with his boys.
Obviously.
And like, so, you know, they probably make this trip all the time. He's probably done something similar before, if not the exact same thing, if not gone further before. And this time, all of a sudden, it ends up on TikTok. He's not expecting it. Now he has a decision to make. I've been making this cowardly move that's basically still been hurting my marriage anyways, right? So now my marriage is hurting. What can I do? He's trying to do damage control, but only admit as much as is necessary. So if I have to admit, hey, you know what? I was in the wrong. I wasn't even trying to do anything. I just basically was out there. We end up taking a picture, this and that, or whatever. I didn't even think it looked that bad. So I forget what the term is. We were watching something the other day, and they were talking about this term when we were looking at the comedians, still comedians jokes, and basically like comedians. It's like detrimental to steal another comedian's joke. So if you are a thief, it's really bad because they can't really sue you for it, but you can take money off somebody else's plate. But there's a term they have for it, which basically says, well, maybe you heard the joke before. It could be years ago. You don't really remember that you got it from somewhere else. You're under a lot of pressure to make up jokes because you need to make an hour set. You know, an hour set is not easy. You know, it takes years to craft an hour set. So it's like, okay, I need to pull the joke from somewhere and it's got to transition. And then all of a sudden something pops in your mind. You don't remember you heard another comedian 5 years prior say the same thing. And so you got a similar joke. You don't even use it exactly the same, but you come up with something close, not even realizing what it connects to. So even if this, you know, so this guy is like trying his best, you know, he's trying his hardest to be like, oh, this and that or whatever. But if he would just confess, and so it gets to a place where, you know, in that situation, both sides, but you know, that person who's the offender, if you were willing to do that to somebody, you got to confess, and then you got to be willing. The honorable thing, as we talk about in sovereignty all the time, be as honorable as possible. The most honorable thing you could do is allow the person the opportunity to walk, because if you've cheated, you know, especially, well, really, the Bible says if you commit adultery in your heart, you're already done so. But we're talking about physical adultery, and if you committed physical adultery, you've made it to where you and them have already broken contract. So at that point, the person has the right to walk away, but you want them to remain to a contract that's technically illegal. It's broken.
Well, it's not like, for me in this situation, my question is like, if someone, the offender, this man here who is obviously a cheater, who, you know, or overly flirtatious, but it seems very sus that he's so blatantly allowing someone to videotape him and take pictures of him hugging up on some woman in the water with her bathing suit on. Like she's basically naked in the water, and he thinks it's okay. Why was he in the water with her? How did this whole situation come about? She says that he approached her and gave her his phone number. The whole situation seems extremely sus. How do you deal with somebody who's not even willing to confess that they did wrong? Because for me, my heart went out to his wife because she was forgiving him for something that he never asked forgiveness for. And
well, forgiveness, you don't have to. Forgiveness isn't reactionary. So the forgiveness was not for him as much as it was for her. You know, we always talk about that. Forgive before somebody does it. You give them the right to do it. We're all going to need forgiveness. We tap into forgiveness. We're very reactionary with forgiveness. But if you can only forgive somebody out of reaction, you're not going to be very great at forgiving at all. Because if somebody, you know, somebody like, okay, I've got to be, you know, my wife is very big about how you direct your language. So like, let's say there's a person out there, not anybody on the live, not anybody in this home. They were all covered. Okay, we're all covered. All right. Okay. Somebody out on the street somewhere, right? At some point in the universe, doesn't even have to be today or in the future. This has already happened, right? Somewhere in the past, somebody has been hit in the mouth. Okay. That person got hit in the mouth. It's kind of easy to recover, fight your way out of it, or even forgive. Somebody gets shot in the mouth. the trauma is going to be a lot different. They could still technically recover depending on how they got shot or whatever, right? But it's a different type of trauma. Um, Once again, the logic is still the same. The healing is what's important. The forgiveness is what's important. So, but it might be more difficult if I'm only thinking about healing people. Like, first of all, it's a weird place to think about it, but it's like that person has to think of if that person thinks of there's a possibility that somebody could hit me in the mouth. That's actually why it's easier to forgive. It's not the fact that it's lesser, is that you could actually see, okay, somebody hitting you in the mouth, somebody shooting you in the mouth. That's something you probably wouldn't think of as a possibility. So it becomes more difficult because you haven't even gone through the possibility, right? Somebody getting a relationship with them and them yelling at you and cussing you out, that's a possibility that you go, well, even though I don't like that, I can see that happening. And I've dealt with that. Maybe I've done it. So it's like, okay, I can deal with that. But then somebody cheats on you and you're like, I could never deal with the possibility, not them, not my wife, not my husband, not my baby, not 20 years in, not 2 years in, not 2 months in, not right after we walked down the island and 6 months later, right? Not she went on vacation with their friends and then blah, blah, not he went to Miami, was with his boys and it's on TikTok now. Now, on top of that, the thing with that is it's so embarrassing.
Yeah.
The embarrassment is even more hurtful than the stuff, to where people now have to see your breaking your marriage clause, what bound you together, what was legally binding. At the end of the day, like, that's the hard part of forgiveness. But so forgiveness is difficult for us because we are usually reactionary, and if you're reactionary in forgiveness, somebody hits you, well, it's easier to recover from that reaction because you've maybe seen that before. But when your reaction is something that blows your mind, like you weren't ready for that. Like, you woke up in the hospital and your jaw is wired shut, and they said, hey, you're gonna be able to talk again, but it might take you 6 months. Like, that's when you go, okay, it's difficult, more difficult than what I assumed. So, but in dealing with that, if somebody does something like that, it has to come from a place of like it just comes from a place of, once again, the confession. But that confession piece is crucial. I think you even had told me upstairs about taking this to a level of, what if you see your friend out, or you see somebody who goes out with your friend out somewhere? Do you confront them? Do you do this or whatever? And it's about confession. If you and your friend, like, this is the confidant, constituent, comrade thing. If I'm your confidant, right, and I see in, like, so, well, we're husband and wife is a bad, I can't really, because I would, like, if you or I saw the other person with somebody, I know both of us would probably go a little postal, and then, like, we'd be finished, kind of. But, like, so we're a little different. So, but like, if I saw my friend out there and I see him with somebody that's not his woman or whatever, I would actually go to him. And I might not say anything to the girl yet, depending on what he does, but I might just be like, hey, what's up, bro? And be like, oh, hey, what's up? And it's like letting them know. But my friends know, like, there's somebody still ducking and dodging me all of a sudden. And I just been trying to let them know I love them, but it's like, they know that, like, I don't play, and they're friends with you too. So they, like, we don't play that. Like, so they've done something, and, like, we're trying to get in touch with them, and they're playing this whole thing of trying to play keep away or stay away from us. But it's like, or if I see somebody that is supposed to be going out with my friend or whatever, I may or may not confront them. First of all, I'd be led. I think you should even be led in all situations, even in that, like, pray. Like, what Yahweh, okay, you see, like, I talk to Yahweh like I talk to regular people. I'd be like, you see this? Like, what you want me to do about this? Like, she go out with my boy. Like, so women out there probably, that's my, that's supposed to be, I called him brother and everything. And because you going to my girl, y'all doing this, blah, blah. Now he out here doing this or whatever. Right. But pray about it. You might be led to confront. You're probably not going to be led to confront the way that you think confront means, but you might be led to confront, or, confession. I'd go, if I saw my boys with somebody else that I know wasn't his wife or girlfriend or whatever, I've told people, I've said this in front of you too, please don't make me choose. Like, if you're around, if I end up around your boo, and you got another one that you booed up with, but this is supposed to be your boo, and I know that she's supposed to be especially if I have any relationship with her. But period, out of respect, if I'm around her and y'all start talking about relationship stuff and you come to me, I'm not lying. Like I tell everybody outright, like I'm not lying for you. I'm not covering up. That's I'm not doing that. So I'm going to confess. Why? Because I have to be in a position where I have the same logic as the Most High. And y'all can't, and I can't sit up here and talk about I'm worth my salt as a man, let alone a pastor, if I can't even have the same logic to be like, hey, I want y'all to have the same logic. So you come around me, hey, this is so and so, this and that, or whatever. And even the guy that I'm talking about that is our friend, and he was doing stuff before, and I would talk, you would hear me talk to like, bro, like that stuff you doing. No, I was just doing it. It's like, bro, you flirtatious. Yeah, exactly. Like don't pretend like what you were doing was all right. And don't come around me like I love you, I love her. Y'all need to make sure this thing works. If it's gonna work out, like stop playing games with it and realize that he just smiled because he know that he's wrong.
It's like it goes back to what you said about knowing the person and their personality as to what you should say or if you should say, and praying and being led because I didn't put prayer in it. And so like I've seen a couple circumstances where I was quiet, where I knew a friend of a friend, she was cheating on her husband, and she was using the other friend's place to come and pretend like she's hanging out and be doing things that she's not supposed to be doing with some other man, even though she knows she's married. In that situation, I didn't know them well enough. To me, I didn't really know her husband like that, and to even say anything to him, and I really didn't feel like it was my place. In another circumstance, I saw a guy that was dating somebody close to me. I saw him kiss another girl, and of course I said something because I was like, I can't let my person go out like that. Like, but you never know how the person's gonna react. Like the person who's getting cheated on, you don't know how they'll react once you tell them. I've seen circumstances where cousins turn on each other, where one cousin tells the other cousin that their girlfriend or their husband is cheating on them, and they won't talk to them for years because of it.
Good.
Okay. Oh God, I'm looking at this comment and sorry. Okay. I'm gonna word.
Yeah, I get this all. This is part of what stuff that pops
I mean, there's a troll that's like talking about doing disgusting things to children. Oh. Anyhow, yeah, but I've seen conversations where you might be an innocent bystander, but if you bring it to the person's attention, they won't be as mad at the cheater as they are at you for bringing it to their attention. And I don't know why that is, but
that goes back to that confidant thing. If you're really a confidant, like if you're a confidant, somebody said they might know already. That could be the truth as well. But if you're a confidant, your thing, like it's like if somebody come to me and be like, my husband or somebody like my boyfriend, he beating me up. I dealt with that, and a lot of men are hesitant because we'll run in, try and beat the crap out of somebody, and then all of a sudden the girl starts beating the crap out of us. And it's like, well, what you want me to do? Like, like you telling me he beating you up. Like, why are you telling me if you don't want me to take action? Yeah. But it's like, once again, being led, and then also, recognizing if I do this, going back to what we were talking about with the hospital situation or somebody dying, or somebody coming for advice, I can do what I'm supposed to do. And if you come against me and yell at me and say things about me and belittle me and try to make my name bad because I simply did what I was supposed to do, then okay, lesson learned. Wipe the dust off my feet as I don't go back to your humble abode and keep it moving.
That's fair. I see Tamika answered my question as to why people get mad. I guess she said because they already know. And I guess if they already know and they don't want they don't want to leave the situation, but they don't want you to necessarily know. It's like, the elephant in the room, like living a lie. Like, we're gonna both pretend like this isn't happening. Like, I don't think I can do that too long. Where I know it's happening, you know it's happening, but we're not gonna talk about it. We're just gonna act like it's not happening. Like, what is that? And then don't come crying on my shoulder when it ends badly. Like,
you had some other ones.
oh, basically, how to apologize.
How to apologize?
Yeah, like sometimes it's hard to apologize. Like, um,
I think that's just humility issue.
mm-hmm.
I don't know if how is really. I mean, I guess you could say how as far as like, hey, don't do me dirty, and then be like, you want some. But I think it's a love language thing. Like, if I'm the one that's been damn, like let's say I'm the one that got the trauma, and somebody's I don't know, somebody doesn't do, like this happens in relationships a lot. Like, so let's say somebody doesn't do words of affirmation that well, and somebody does something wrong to them, whatever, and then parents used to do this a lot. You get beat for something you didn't do, and then the parent's not really great with words, so the parent never says I'm sorry, but the child might need to hear I'm sorry and that you didn't do it. So, but the parent's way of dealing with it is like, hey, I made your favorite dinner. It's like the child has to, and a lot of times we have to learn on the fly. Okay, I guess this is the apology. This is as great as it's going to get. They're not going to tell me they were wrong, but they're going to tell me by giving me something that they can't afford right now. Maybe like this is how sorry I am, or something like that.
Like, for me, I want the person to acknowledge why they're sorry. I don't want someone to just say I'm sorry. I want you to tell me why you're sorry. Why, like, how we understand each other. Because
right.
If you're just telling me I'm sorry, or are you telling me you're sorry for the wrong thing, then I'm still mad. I don't know.
No, I mean, I get it. I think it's like it's a cultural thing of even the way that we think. Like there's the 5 love languages, and then there's actually the 5 apology languages.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so it's like there's 5 ways to apologize. I don't remember them off the top of my head. I don't know them anywhere close as well as I know the 5 love languages, because that's like been a labor of love, like in life. Like I like those books that he has and those conversations he has in interviews. Dr.
John Gray? No, not John Gray.
I was gonna say Franklin Covey. That's something completely different.
It'll come to
yeah.
Gary Chapman.
Dr. Gary Chapman, Carolinian, North Carolinian, I believe. But just in general, like, so there's different ways people apologize. So like sometimes like we have to recognize that, but also the people should know your apology language too. I think it should be something, because everybody's going to do stuff wrong to everybody, and they're going to do it multiple times depending on how long your relationship is. And sometimes it's stuff that like you would be like, man, that's even something I don't think is that big a deal, but for the other person that means the world. So sometimes people are blown away even at the fact that you ask them for an apology, because they're like, in my love language, matter of fact, I did the same thing I do for you every week or every day or something. But the other person might be like, yeah, but in my love language, I've listened to you do that. I've gotten that from you, but I want you to do this in my love language today. Give me one day, give me one day a month, one day a year where you do this one thing in my love language. And then and it's like, and so you get in this fight where it's like, I know you're showing me love, but I need, in my emotional bank account, I need you to deposit my love language. You might be giving me words of affirmation, but if your love language is physical touch, like, words don't mean nothing. Like, hey, that might be the person that says like, before you say anything to me today, matter of fact, I don't need you to say a word to me, come in, give me a hug, give me a kiss, rub on my feet, and if it leads to something else, it leads to something else, right? But like, give me a hug, give me a
kiss, show me that you're going to earn my forgiveness.
Well, that can be like for I wasn't even talking about forgiveness, but yeah, like even in forgiveness. So like that could be forgiveness, or somebody who's saying, like for you, you're saying, show me exactly what it is that you want or whatever. But you also, well, you flow in between, like a lot of people do a lot of different love languages, but like you're oftentimes going to be like acts of service. And so it's like, I need you to tell me the specific act. That's why it's very important for you. Like, because if you do that act again, I'm more so concerned about you're going to do the same thing I told you.
Mhm.
So you don't really care, you know, you're like, I don't care. So even because you've said this before, and I'm not mad that you said it, I'm just saying you've said it before, like, you know, I don't care what you say necessarily, it's about what you do. Like,
Mhm.
because doing is more important for you, you know, like
Mhm.
for years, it's like you've been saying you're going to do this and you've been saying this is going to happen and you've been saying, right. But you always like, okay, and then not only did you do it, but then with consistency, but for you, that shows security that, okay, you're not going to be inconsistent in what you do. And without talking about your whole life story, there are things that you've admitted to that it's like there might be a reason why you have that issue as far as needing to have the consistency in that area.
Where are you
So
going, sir? Where are you going?
hold on one second, y'all. Come here. You're not supposed to be walking around right now. What's going on? What's going on?
I'm getting hungry.
Oh, you're hungry.
You hungry?
Oh.
Okay, go ahead, go upstairs. We're gonna get you something in a second, okay? Here. Oh no, never mind. You can't take that upstairs.
Yeah. Go.
That bag.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay, go ahead. I'm gonna get you something in a little bit, sir. Okay.
Yeah. I'll get you something.
All right. He's had a long day. Yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Kendra said, always a real apology is changed behavior. If you do the exact same thing again, you're not sorry. Exactly. And you know how easy it is to say sorry. You know how easy it is to send texts. You know, I'm guilty of it, sending the same text to 100 people. Like, so for me, I'm not convinced.
But yeah, but once again, that's a love language thing too.
Yeah.
Like there's somebody out there that could care less that you did the act, and they like, when you gonna tell me? Like there's somebody that'll say, okay, like it's been a year since you did whatever, you haven't done whatever, but you never told me, because that's their love language. Somebody else is like, you never held me and told me like I'll never do it. You know, you might have to say I'll never do it again simultaneously, but you never held me. You know, especially if you were holding somebody else and their love language is physical touch. It's like you better at some point find a way to start holding me and telling me that there ain't nothing like me. And by the way, like you better be holding me more than you ever did before, at least for a little bit to make up for it. Because if you could be with them for 6 months or something behind my back, then you should at least give me 6 months of holding me like you never held me, let alone a year, 6 years, 60 years, whatever. You know, like it starts with something, but it's going to be a, you know, it's always going to go back to culture. Like, how does that person, what is their psyche, their soul, their psychology? You know, in studying that person's soul, the word psyche or psyche, it means to study the soul. So, are you studying the soul of a person? Are you in a position where you study their psychology, like study what makes them tick, the seat of their habits, where the spirit and the body meet? Because an apology for one person is not necessarily an apology for the other. Somebody else, it's like if their love language is gifts. I mean, people be like, oh no, that's gold digger behavior. No, like if that person's love language is gifts, you might need to put some roses in their hand. Like some people are like, don't give me roses and chocolates when you mess up. Some ladies might want roses and chocolates when you mess up because that might be their love language. Like, so you messed up, you know, I like gifts, so you better show up. Like tonight, you better have something
in your face.
Even if even if they do, like the fact that you gave the gift, because that's something that I've had to learn over time, and a lot of men who are older than me have said as they matured, which is like, you know, if your wife tells you get out of this house and blah blah this and that or whatever, she don't mean get out of this house, right? So it's like, even if I gift you the flowers and the chocolates, and you basically, you know, pour all the chocolates in the toilet, flush it in my face, and then throw the flowers in my face at the same time, it doesn't mean you're saying leave. And later on, it'll at least be, well, you know what, I appreciated my love language. You did give me flowers. Yeah. You do like, you know, I like, I don't know, magnolias or something. That's my, whatever your favorite stuff is. You know, you like, you know, I like white roses. You know, I like different flowers each time. And so the fact that you came and you gave that to me, it does mean that you know, it means the world. And so, and even in that, it's always, but here's the deal on both sides. People don't like to talk about it because we're talking about all sides holistically holding. There's also this side of the person who's supposed to be the forgiver, and you have a responsibility too. And a lot of times we just do this thing. Well, somebody, now I know cheating is the highest levels.
Well, I'm looking at Tony's comment, and it might be along the lines of what you're going to say, but it says if one is unfaithful, then the other feels they are doing something wrong. If the person got cheated on feels like they've done something wrong.
Well, yeah, that wasn't where I was going to go, but I mean, that's true as well. But no, they actually are, like, legit. If one spouse cheats on the other spouse, their contract is broken, both enter into adultery. Like that's the problem with it. So that's why the contract is broken, because if one person cheats, even if the other person's faithful, technically they both just cheated because they're one. So what one does, the other person partakes in. What I was talking about is though on the side of, also too. Now I know we're talking about cheating. That's a huge one, but I'm talking about people take stuff that's a 2 in the merit scale to make it, a 20, and it's
I'm
like,
guilty.
so, I mean, all of us are, but I'm just saying, so there comes a time too where it's like, look, like, you're tired, children getting on your nerves, had a bad day at work, blah, blah. Spouse comes home, they do something that's insignificant, probably something they do all the time. And it's something that probably, irks you, but it's something that you've just already forgiven and been like, this is who this person is. But tonight, they came on the wrong night, did the same thing they always do. And something y'all have already talked about and been like, you know what, as long as you just do it this way, I don't care. And they do exactly what you said. And just because it's this night, you go off too. And it's like, so, the forgiveness piece, sometimes we got to be in a position to see where it is. Are we in a position? That's why, like, we had, when we do like marriage constitutions, we did our own marriage constitution. One of the things we had in there was we might need to come to the person and say, can I talk to you about this another time? Like sometimes it's like, I want forgiveness now. Are you in a position where you can even, or no, I want a confession. Confess that you did. Are you in a position you can hear a confession? Like you might want a confession, but are you about to, throw some hot grits right now? Because that's not going to be the time for
I've heard some
confession.
extreme cases.
So, and it has to be something where it's like, if I already did something wrong, and you want to talk to me about it, I might need, or if something might make me upset, like, and vice versa. We've written out, like, every once in a while, we might need to come to the person and say, hey, look, I really need to talk to you about something. You're probably not going to like what I have to say, but I really want to be able to sit you down and talk to you about it or whatever. Can you give me, like, I'm going to need you to, like, give me an hour of time. Can you give me this much time? And the person needs to be honest with you, but they can't, like, keep putting it off. So like, all right, yeah, sure. Today's not necessarily a great day. I'm not in a great headspace, but can we do it tomorrow? Like, and put it in like a calendar, like you would on a business, because it's more important than your business. Like,
I'm not good at that.
But I'm just saying, like, but because if you already know, or you might have to do that for yourself. Like, hey, babe, look, I'm frustrated right now. I need to talk to you about something. I think you might even know what it is. But if we talk about it right now, I'm not really about to talk to you. So I just need you to know, leave me alone for today. Like, but tomorrow, you need to make time in your schedule. We need to talk about it. I promise I'll be better. But right now, today, leave me alone. You know what you did, blah, blah, blah. And that gives the person, okay, like, I can respect that. Come back to him at another time. We don't think about putting those things in place. It's interesting. We only think about the word of Yah and conducting ourselves properly and respectfully and honorably when things are going well. Forgetting, right? Like, or not even, actually, I'm sorry, when things are going bad. But we should have this in order and line all the time when things are going well. So that time when things go bad and we go to our default will be what we've always been doing. The programming. We have a program that we go by. If we go by that program consistently, then all we're going to do is just go back to what we do consistently. If our program is, first things first, before Maya even takes her coat off coming through the door, I already got, that old, they used to have videos like where you go like this because, you Joan, but it doesn't, and you start making fun of somebody. You put your hand out. Before she comes to the door, I'm already ready to like fire off on her. Like tell her, you ain't do blah, blah, or I'm coming back from this or a hard day or whatever, and you ain't do blah, blah, or she wakes up and immediately, as soon as she wakes up, look, we go talk. And like, it doesn't make sense. We've already decided by our actions, by the space that we're in to choose. Yeah, we've chosen violence. We've said that that's more important than anything else.
Man, I'm guilty of it. Like for me, I'm very fiery and passionate, and it's hard for me to be like, you don't want to talk right now, because then I get into my fighting mode. Like, oh, okay, so you did this, but you don't want to talk right now. Okay,
right. But and I get, but it goes to play. But both sides. That's why I said both sides. We don't, because we go into this thing if it's going to be 100% somebody's fault.
Yeah.
So like but both sides have to be in a forgiving place.
Yeah.
Like there have to be times, once again, love language wise. So like if like I know my wife is irritated about something, she's kind of made it known, but she hasn't told me, but in her own way, it's because love language is not just verbal only, it's physical, right? Physical communication, body language, things like that. So it's like I can see throughout the day certain things, certain tells that she has, and I'm like, okay, I can tell she's probably irritated. I ask about it. I don't really get the response. I get that response a lot of brothers get, which is, like, hey, is everything all right? Yeah, everything's good. And like in her mind, like, something else is probably going on. But you have enough sense to know something, even if you can't read her mind, know what's going on. But it's like, okay. And so if I get, if I wake up and there's a conversation that needs to happen at that point, I was like, all right, like that's part of like, it's not her being bad or wrong or anything. It's like just part of, what is like, it's like, okay. And so like, I have to be forgiving that moment, even though she might have to be more forgiving, however you want to slice up the forgiveness pie. People always want to say who's more guilty, whatever. So maybe that's my 1% and she gets 99% where she gets to forgive me. But, let me flow on my 1%, let me not get into a place, because I can take that 1% and be like, I'm not forgiving this. I just got up. I got this to do in the rise, and I got to get ready for this. Blah blah. And so now I can just go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and we don't even get to whatever it is. Fine. You know what? This is your opportunity. This is your turn. You get to fire off, fire away. Tell me all about myself. Call me whatever you need to call me or whatever. And then when you finish, like, okay. No, I'm just saying, like, like just give a forgiveness to it and see, like, can I actually listen or whatever. I'm not always the greatest, I like to fancy myself a listener, but I'm not always perfect, but I try. I try to hang in there and listen and stuff or whatever. Mm-hmm. And, but there's going to be times where humanity shows up too. There's no perfect
you do. You actually do a great job of like taking yourself out of it. Especially when it doesn't come as like an accusatory type thing. If I'm not like blaming you like right off, sometimes even when I am blaming you right off, you'll say, okay, let me try to listen to this. Let me see, because like I don't know what happens in your head, but it seems like when there's an attack, it's like, okay, I'm on the defensive. But sometimes you'll say, okay, there's an attack. Why is she attacking me? Let me try to be. I'm the pastor for everybody else. Let me try to be the pastor right now.
Yeah, well, that's a delicate dance too, because it's like you double, right? So it's like you're a pastor and you're a husband, but when do you get to be pastor? When do you say, my wife don't want to hear from Pastor Kofi, she just want to hear from her. She wants her husband to listen. So, but it's love language. It's love language. It's respect for both of them. You said your wife gets upset versus addressing issues. We seldom have confession. Well, that could be a thing, but also too, I believe there's probably a whole bunch of stuff as far as love language, just in what you said. You said, man, I can't do anything without my wife. No, I'd be like, Lord, you told her, didn't you? Yeah, yeah. And I'm sorry, I don't understand when one cheats, the other cheats. Please explain. Well, in our culture, so biblically speaking, you're talking about adultery. If you go once again to our sweet spot, Matthew chapter 5, Sermon on the Mount. I believe this is going to be verses 21 through 26 or something like that. It talks about marriage, and it talks about marriage as a contract. In ancient times, not just even the Bible, but in ancient times, marriage is sex, sex is marriage. So if you're dealing in marriage, and somebody breaks contract because you two are one, if one cheats, then the other cheats as well, even if they're not in the same bedroom with the same person. If you go into a relationship with somebody, if you have sex with somebody else, you are in fact entering into a place of cheating, so into adultery. And so therefore the contract that you have with one another is null and void, because when you cheated, you basically had the other person cheat. A lot of people will do this thing where it's like, well, this person cheated on me, so I'm gonna go ahead and cheat on them. You don't have to. Once the person cheated on you, you already cheated. They already made you cheat. So if your whole thing is revenge, that's already done. Well, at that point, you just,
to give like a practical analogy of that, like when say one spouse steps out and gets an STD, they come back home with chlamydia. Who has the chances of having chlamydia at that point? Not just the spouse that cheated, but oftentimes the spouse that didn't cheat ends up with the same disease. So because they both are in that together, they're one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But so in the spiritual sense, you could say in the physical sense, soul ties wise, a lot of stuff has happened when that cheating is taking place. Mm-hmm. So you had other ones on the list?
The last but not least, I think maybe the most important one is knowing what to pray. Like when you don't know what to pray about, when and how to pray and what to pray about.
I mean, prayer, so once again, it goes back to culture. Prayer is communication. And once again, only 7% of your communication is verbal. Mm. So everything is prayer. Mm. And when you get to that level, that's why you pray without ceasing, because you want everything you do to be a prayer. The second I do something outside of kingdom status or what I'm supposed to do is all of a sudden the second that I'm not talking to the Most High.
So you're saying like living a life within the laws of the Most High is prayer?
Yeah, now I can say, I know I'm being very simplistic with it. I know that you want me to say like maybe what do you say or something like that, but I think that first, look, you always know I'm gonna go to the foundation of it in the culture. Like prayer is communication. People try to go into the pontification and the these and the thuses and Yahweh, thou art worthy of all the praise. It is you that has made heaven and earth, and that is upon the foundation of the very fabric of the word that you spoke, upon every word that you have uttered,
There's
every
nothing
letter that
wrong
is
with
done.
that.
There's nothing wrong, but I'm just saying, like, that's not necessarily always prayer.
Right.
It's fancy. There are times that I pray like that. Matter of fact, y'all used to make fun of me because y'all said that all my prayers were long and sounded like that. But there are times.
I say his prayers are eloquent. I never said they're long and sound like that.
There are times when you be like, pray, and then you be like, don't make it too long and stuff like that, right?
Well, I know you can make a prayer over the meal like 30 minutes. I know he could do it. He doesn't do it. I didn't say you did. I know you can do it.
Y'all know black people want to pray, but they want to eat. So if you pray for 2 minutes and it's time to eat, then they say that you done prayed for 30 minutes.
I have witnessed like a 10-minute prayer though over like right before eating. I have. It was a long time ago.
I mean, if it was necessary, it was necessary. But what I'm saying is, you don't have to necessarily do a long drawn out prayer like that. Is what I'm saying. Long story short, right? It's like you don't have to necessarily have a long prayer such as that. Like prayer is important. Knowing even like the Lord's Prayer that's a manner in which you should pray. That's a great one to think about. Quick version of that. I think we have that on our Having Been Led as We Believe series, How to Pray, or we have a thing on YouTube channel just talks about prayer. But when you listen to it, it's telling you in this manner, right? So he says basically, don't be like the hypocrites. Hypo, you underneath criteria. So don't be like the hypocrites that live underneath the criteria they speak when they pray, and they always telling you why they're better than somebody else, this, that, or whatever. He said, when you pray like this: Our Father. That means that you must comprehend the source that you're praying to, who art in heaven. That's where his throne is, the heaven of heavens, right? The holy of holies. Hallowed be thy name. His name, his authority is greater than anybody else's. That kingdom, culture, come, right? Or the domain in which a king lives inside of, and thy will be done where? On earth, or even inside earth, if you will, whether we're talking about arats or we're talking about adamach, we're talking about the flesh, or we're talking about the surface of the earth, the same way it's done in heaven. We shouldn't wait to go to heaven. We should be praying that we can be a vessel in which heaven comes inside of us, that we can manifest things. So, like that's the type of prayer you can talk about as well. Give us this day our daily bread, the manna. Manna meaning what is it? We don't even know what we need, but rain down from heaven what we need, and you were supposed to gather the manna together for what you needed in that day, unless it was Shlashai or the 6th day, and then before Shabbat, and then he rained down twice as much so that you could rest in that which rained down. So it's like goes into a lot of different things. But prayer, so there's that type of prayer where who are you praying to, and therefore since you have that now, I should forgive, because I can't ask for forgiveness in my prayer if I don't forgive others. So it goes through a litany, excuse me, of things that we're going through, and always remembering at the end, for thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. Amen. It's about you, and we're in an interdependent relationship with you. You are our husband ultimately. So, that's prayer in a nutshell, like as far as words, but everything we do is prayer. So in everything I do, I'm thinking about our Father who art in heaven. He's still the source. If I'm outside and I see that there's a plastic bottle outside, whether I put it there or not, I'll pick it up, because the source of earth didn't create that. Somebody did something perverted with his creation. And number one, and then number two, you wouldn't just leave that in the ground, especially if it's not going to be biodegradable. So it's like, what can I do with this, to make sure that it gets back to what it's supposed to be? Like that's that's the conversation, that we're supposed to be having with our daily life. So yeah, we could talk about the these, the thus, the thous, the names, Yahweh, Yashva, Aman, Vaal, excuse me, Havak, Hakodash, or the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. We can talk about all these different things, but if you don't have, like we talk about with the Bible, I can tell you what version of the Bible all day, but if you don't know the culture, what's the point? So I can tell you about prayer all day, but if you don't live it, matter of fact, one of the biggest scriptures that people like to use, hopefully I'm saying the right one, James chapter 1, verse 8, not to be double-minded, which is to have cognitive dissonance. People always talk about that verse. If you read James 1, verses 5 through 8, you'll get a better context. It's talking about your prayer. It basically is saying that if you pray, as the old seasoned saints used to say, if you pray but you ain't living right, your prayers go no higher than the ceiling. So it's double-minded to believe that you should pray to the Most High and live different than what you pray. So like if you're not praying through your lifestyle, then how you gonna open your mouth? You know, it's the faithfulness thing. How you gonna say that you love me, but I know that you tripping and falling on people's crotch. You know what I'm saying? Like you can't tell me you love me with your mouth, but your life says something completely different.
So the words and the actions are important, but the words and the actions have to align.
Yeah, faith without works.
But so
even in prayer.
So the prayer words don't have to be specifically about necessarily what you need, because the manna or the bread that you're praying for in the Lord's Prayer is basically,
Well, I mean, if you don't know what you need, so like there's a verse. See, that's why I was saying there's a whole thing on prayer, because we could be on that all night. But like, and maybe we should, I don't know, but we could be on that all night. But it's like, so like there's a verse in scripture, I think it's Romans chapter 8, where it talks, Romans 8 verses 26 through 28, somewhere in there, where it starts, or verse 23 through 26 or something like that, somewhere in there, where it starts talking about how you might give an utterance, or you might, give a groaning. You might not know what to pray. Sometimes you might be in the midst of prayer and you don't even know. You just got all this stuff going on emotionally and this, and then you're just like, and says the Holy Spirit translates that. Okay. Like she can take that and say, you know what, like, let me present this to Yahshua. He can give it to the Father, and the Father can manifest.
Because I was going to ask you about that, because sometimes when we're in a messed up mental state, like depressed, or just in a place of like, just don't know where to turn, or what to do, or even what's wrong with you, just knowing, oh, there's something wrong with me, I just can't put my finger on it. You saying the Holy Spirit can translate that and determine what you need, and the fact that you come presenting it to the Most High is the most important part of it.
Right. Like there's times, we're his children, right? If Solomon comes to me and tries to tell me something, I usually have to translate. Yeah. Not always, but I got to translate a lot. Like, he's very highly intelligent, probably. And I'm not saying it's just because he's my son, he might be the most intelligent child that I've ever met. Like, has a lot of intel, doesn't let it out all the time, but all of a sudden he'll hit you with something. You're like, oh, I didn't realize, like, that stuff 12-year-olds don't talk about. So, but he'll hit you with something, and he's not even 7 yet. However, I still have to translate. So he might come, like, for example, he likes dad jokes. We talked about this before. It's like a little family tradition. We'll say dad jokes to each other, and he's getting better at them. He's trying to figure out how to be very clever now with them. So he'll say something, and he'll be like he was talking about today. He said the joke wrong, but he had heard this joke a long time ago. It's like a Darth Vader joke where it's like, why was the tattoo artist arrested for illegal tattooing, right? But he couldn't remember, so he was like, he said something like, what was wrong with Darth Vader? And I'm like, what? And he says, illegal tattoo. And I got to translate, like, okay, I know what you're trying to say. And I know, because you're my child, we have a relationship. So we watch what you watch, I watch. When you do a dad joke, I do a dad. Matter of fact, when it teaches you the dad jokes, right? So I was like, I know what it is. We've heard it. We've watched it together. We learned, we grow, we laughed at it together so many times that when you say it to me, your will is matching up with my will. Thy will be done on earth the same way it's done in heaven. So the same way where I am as a father, and maybe the intellect that I might have, it doesn't mean that the child can't communicate with me at all, or that nothing can be translated. It's the same, kind of concept in prayer, where, we have this scepter, this idea that we need to get to the Father, but we're trying to figure out a way to make it one with the Father concept, but we might not have the intel, we do not have the intel of the Most High. So we might not know. So, and sometimes, once again, we're not confident because we're not competent. But that's where it steps in. Where we are weak, he is strong. Our incompetence is where he says, well, I got you on that. You're not incompetent because I'm inside you. So just trust the competence is already inside you, and then put it with the confidence that you're my child, my children. Like take this, like peep game, right? If you're a child and your father's a king, you're not supposed to just run through the court. But let's say you made it away from the babysitter and you find your way running through the court. Does the king get mad at you because you came to the court? Or does he say you're a child? You still belong in the court. Like you are bolder. We're bolder as children coming before the throne because we don't know. Nobody's told us yet that you're not allowed to come before the throne. Now in church services, we start learning, oh, you can't come before the throne unless Pastor so-and-so says
embarrassment sets in.
Right. Or
people think sets in.
Yeah, like at the end of every service, everybody always says, anybody want to come up for prayer? Anybody want to cover for this? Anybody want to rededicate? Everybody, including the person saying anybody want to come up. We should all come up at that point because we all need to be better.
Yeah,
but everybody just looks like everybody be looking like, not me, not today.
The nosiness sometimes.
Not today, but everybody could use prayer. But everybody knows that part of the service has been specifically blocked out to make sure that we say, ooh, so-and-so's coming up. They need to get it together. That's why it has been created. And so now we look at you as courageous. People actually clap because they're like, oh, she's willing to actually come up and tell people that she ain't no good. That's kind of what it's become. But the reality is like, we should all come before the throne boldly, whether we know how to pray or not. Like coming before the throne is now, obviously, as you get older, sure, you become more humble, you become more respectful, you recognize who the king is. And so at a greater relationship, yeah, I'm going to bow my knee. But when I was 2 running through it, my dad was like, if I was at my dad's job, he worked at the Library of Congress. If I was 2 years old and like I ran around and he just had to deal with a 2-year-old. I'm not going to get in trouble because I'm a child, because I don't comprehend, because I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know that I'm supposed to. Matter of fact, he's not going to let me in certain places because he knows I might pull books out that I'm not even supposed to touch and get fingerprints on that are thousands, well, not thousands, but hundreds of years old. So he's not going to let me in certain rooms, but he's going to recognize, what's going on or whatever. So prayer goes into a lot of different places.
P. Tone said something about don't tarry, right? I don't know what tarrying means.
Well, I was going to give you my definition, but I think I'm going to opine on that. Let me give the exact. Oh, sorry. Hold on 1 second. That's not what we're looking for. Where are we? Hold on. Is this is Google Chrome, right? Yeah. Like we need Google Chrome.
Oh, Safari, yeah.
There we go. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we need Google Chrome.
Okay.
I don't know if it'll let me superimpose it, but maybe it will. So yeah, Terry, I'm gonna look up the exact word because I'm gonna be honest with you. I use a different word sometimes. I mess this word up. So let me just make sure, because people talk about Terry. He's like, some people talk about waiting on or something along those lines, but it doesn't always necessarily translate correctly.
That's not about Terry all night up there.
Oh, I skipped it.
Because it's like.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Love. So, like, it's a different form of love, so to speak. Love. Yeah, not love. So love is, and so basically, like, to talk about, like, stopping over, abiding through the night, things of that nature. So like to tarry or whatever, but it'll talk about, complain, murmur, grumble. It can be depending on the context. So you have context A, B, C, and then you have like, this is kind of it's a lot in there. The qual means something.
I need to learn
and all
how to
that
read
stuff.
the
But well, I mean, this is going a little deeper than the average thing. Basically, yeah, talking about like, it can stay, like it can mean to like kind of stay there, to rest. Like if you spend the night over somebody's home or whatever, that could be like tarrying, something like that. So
that was all I had.
You said like old people used to moan when they sing. I mean, people still do the same thing today. We just like it better now. or we like it because it's a new school way. You know, people be doing the runs and stuff like that. It's just groans. It's nice groans, it's nice sounding groans, but it's groans. You know, it's the same thing. Supposedly, you know, hopefully it's not them showing off. Sometimes it is. Should I know how to pray for others, but not sure how to pray for myself, except for the protection prayer? You pray for what you need. You know, and it's not that we don't know how to pray. It's more that we usually don't know, or we not that we don't know. We don't like to pray for ourselves. It's very difficult for us to pray for ourselves because we feel like everybody else deserves it but us. That's usually what's going on with that.
Terry, to delay.
So to delay can even be a sense. Yeah, it depends on the context. Terry can be a lot of different things. I guess I had to look at the specific scripture that they're talking about. Yeah, I had to look at the specific scripture to look at the context, the full context of it. If you want to give, I mean, maybe if you want to give us the verses getting up there in time, and we do have to get on. We have an early rise of Bible study session that starts at 6:45 a.m. Eastern, and some of us get on at 6:30 a.m. to get a little extra. So
the link for that, if people want to participate in the early riser, is in Pastor Kofi's bio. His link tree has the early riser Bible study information. If you need that information.
You said you said you felt it was precious. I mean, I'm sorry. I'm reading multiple things. Sorry. You felt it was selfish to pray for yourself. And some people do. But, you know, you got to pray for self. So what we see in scripture, sometimes you have to encourage yourself. Well, why would you not pray for yourself? Why would you not pray for your situation that's going on? Right? We pray for everybody else. Well, why not pray for your situation that's going on? Early Risers on Zoom, and I think I need to make sure that you get that link, or if you haven't got the email or whatever yet, you'll just make sure that you get the text. But I know you sent me the stuff. I just got to make sure. I don't know if I added it to the contact list yet or not.
Check your link tree. It'll have that information there.
Oh, okay. Well, if you check the link tree, I guess it's Maya saying it's on the link tree. So
yeah, it's on Kofi's bio.
On TikTok.
On TikTok, it's on his bio. On the website, if you go to the calendar and click recurring events or click on early rise Bible study, it'll have the Zoom information on there too.
All right. So, however, the hour is late.
Oh, let me get the website. It's www.kofi-ofori, KOFI-OFORI.com.
Okay.
If someone can write that in the comment section, because we can't.
Yeah. And once again, if you're on TikTok, just simply go to the homepage, our homepage, and just go there, and you look up on. If you just look up on the homepage and you go to where it says website and you click on Linktree, all that information pops up for you to be able to go and look for it there. So, right. But Kofi-Ofori.com, KOFI-OFORI.com. Hashtag find Kofi. Also, don't forget you can find my wife, the Honorable Maya Bloom and Flourish, not A-N-D, the letter N, Bloom and Flourish. You can follow her on TikTok, YouTube, and her website, and Pinterest. And she's the healer, herbalist, chemist, biologist by degree. And she's ensuring that she is making sure that we have medicine, natural medicine, to bless us. The tincture of the month, although she has many tinctures, the tincture of the month is still I Am Renewed until the 1st of April, which is coming up very soon. So we're getting closer and closer to Passover. Passover season is upon us. Prayerfully, you gotten the leaven out of your homes. And even those who said that you did Passover last week or whatever, prayerfully you've been observing, then you should be observing the week of, the Feast of Unleavened Bread. So either way, prayerfully you've been on point with that and on target with that and doing what you need to do. We're thankful. We're grateful unto you. We appreciate you for this time once again. And once again, we look forward to being on in front of you tomorrow at 8 a.m. Eastern New York time. We will be on tomorrow on time for our early rise of Bible study session. And we look forward to talking to everybody soon. So thank you. And as always, Also, too, as always, please study this word. Don't just hear it, but study it, meditate on it, fast, do whatever you need to do so you can go from being hearers of this word to being doers as well. We're thankful, we're grateful, we're appreciative to everybody who's on here. And as always, this has been, well, tonight has been the Honorable Maya and myself. We are over Servants of Christ, where we are always changing lives one mind at a time by being a voice of the voiceless and speaking the unspoken until we have the great privilege, opportunity, and responsibility of being in front of you all again. Please remember, as always, that you are loved, you are necessary, you are majestic, you are fearfully, wonderfully made, and you, which is all of us working together, will be the reason why people who are in the system no longer have to be of it. Shalom, family. Peace. Please come.